For a team that didn't even make the postseason, the Arizona Diamondbacks posted elite numbers offensively that rivaled heavy hitters like the Cubs, Phillies, and Dodgers. And if they want to make the postseason in 2026, that offense will need to show up yet again. So, what exactly needs to happen to make sure that we don't miss out once again?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, the show where we talk nothing but the D-backs Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day, by the way. I'm your host, Danon Biggs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Today, we are going to be talking about our offense, what the Diamondbacks did right, and what they're going to have to continue to do next season in order to ensure that we make the postseason, assuming that the front office is going to do what they say and strengthen our pitching, our bullpen, and our starting rotation. Because if they're able to do that and our offense continues the way it's been going, both this year and last year and the year before, then we are 100% going to make the playoffs and even have a shot at winning the division. So, because again, our offense is not the problem whatsoever. Now, I already hear a lot of you guys saying that, well, one of the reasons why our offense was so good this year was because of Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor. And you are absolutely right. They are a big reason, but they are not the only reason why we did as well. And we had a lot of things kind of hindering us this last season that I think, well, that I hope don't this season, principally injuries and things like that. We also have a new hitter, and I say he's a new hitter. We have a new offensive hitter who has finally come into his own in the last month of 2025, and that is Jordan Lawlar. I say he's new because he looks completely different when he is in control versus when he's not in control. He has not been in control at any point in the majors until the final month that he was in 2025. And in that small sample size, granted a small sample size, he was elite. And so if we're able to add him to our already core hitters, which we're going to talk about that in our second segment today, then that will make a huge impact on the team. And we have others as well. It's not just him. So let's get into that. But we're going to talk a little bit more about Jordan Lawlar. We're also going to talk about the lower lineup in our batting lineup and how kind of top heavy it is with our big hitters versus the rest of their hitters. And then we're going to talk about the call-ups that we saw in 2025, those who made their first, or at least pretty much made their first appearance in 2025 versus those that we can expect to see in 2026. And we'll talk a little bit about them as well. So let's talk a bit about Jordan Lawlar. And a lot of people are talking about him right now for one big reason. So Jordan Lawlar is currently playing in the Dominican Republic on the Tigres del Licey. I think that's how you say it. But winter baseball. He's playing in the Winter League. And he has played in their last two games. He played all 9 innings, not at third base, not at shortstop, not in the infield, but at center field. So why is he playing in center field? He has never played center field in his entire in his entire professional baseball career. Not in college, not in the minors, not in the majors. This is his first time playing in the outfield. Well, the reason that he's doing that is because as of right now, the Diamondbacks have a lot of infield coverage. They're pretty much good with their infield. They have at second, they have Ketel Marte. And unless he's injured, he's pretty much always going to be there. Shortstop, same thing. Perdomo. I think even more so, he's always going to be there. Ketel Marte, we could see kind of take on more of a DH role, especially if from time to time, if needed, he may take that role and And somebody like, if we re-sign Ildemaro Vargas, he might take on second base every once in a while. But second and short, totally fine. Third base, Blaze Alexander really made a good home for himself there at third base. Defensively, fantastic. And offensively, he is more than capable, especially for the point of his career that he's in. I expect to see big improvements offensively this season. And if he's able to stay healthy the entire season, especially so. So Blaze Alexander kind of has third base down. And now Jordan Lawlar is traditionally a third baseman. And he played a lot of third base in 2025, but his defense was almost more of a liability than it was a strength. He has a lot of talent, and honestly, I think give him a little bit more time, and I think he would have it very well. But the fact of the matter is, third base is kind of covered, and if it's not by Blaze Alexander, we have Tim Tawa, we have a handful of other guys who we can call up and bring in that would be very good. And so what do you do with Jordan Lawlar? Well, where we do have holes right now is in the outfield. Corbin Carroll has right field pretty much locked down. He could probably play center or left if he really needed to, but he's got right field. So between center and left field is kind of between Alek Thomas, Jake McCarthy. You kind of have Jorge Barosa as well. And Tim Tawa can play there as well. Blaze Alexander's played in the outfield a bit, but to have somebody who can show up offensively consistently like Lawlar did in the last month and is set to kind of come into 2026, that would be a huge improvement and really allow the Diamondbacks to put their best infield forward. And you might be asking why we don't put him at first base. I think first base is kind of not that first base is its own beast. It's a totally different position. You'll find a lot of times catchers will move to first base, or somebody who's like an all-around utility guy. Lawlar, I think they would like for him to be a utility guy. He may get some reps at first base, but I don't really see that happening. With his speed and his pretty good glove, center field kind of feels like a great place for him. So anyway, he played center field yesterday and the day before down there in winter ball and did a pretty good job. He, in the two games that he played, I believe he had 5 at-bats in each game. He got 1 hit each, a single yesterday and a 2 RBI double in the game before. And that league is notoriously pitcher friendly. So if he's putting up an average of 200 like he is right now, that's not a reason to be totally worried or concerned. So anyway, so that's exciting. And at this point, there's a good chance that right now trade talks are kind of happening, rumblings and everything. And Alek Thomas and Jake McCarthy are probably in those conversations as elements of a trade. So there's a good chance that we will not have one or both of them at the start of next season. And so to have somebody like Jordan Lawlar who can be an everyday player at center field would be huge. And that's the thing, is they want Lawlar to be in every day. And they want Blaze Alexander to be in every day because they both need the reps. They both need the practice. And they're going to continue to develop the more and more they play. You don't want to platoon the two because then they get half the amount of games. So to have Lawlar at center, Alexander at third, is kind of a win-win situation, assuming Lawlar can play center field effectively, which so far, so good. He looks good. So that's kind of exciting. And this isn't the first time that an infielder was moved to the outfield. I mean, we tried it with Ketel Marte, and he did fine, kind of some mixed results. But he is back in second and will stay there. But famously, one that worked really well is a small unknown player named Fernando Tatis Jr. on the Padres, and he was an infielder until they moved him into the outfield in 2001, I think. And since then, he's won Golden Gloves, Platinum Glove. He's been phenomenal in outfield. So it has happened. It happens all the time. Lawlar, I think, will probably find a good place in center field. The only time will tell. So we'll see how he does. Anyway, guys, we're going to talk about the rest of our lineup offensively after the short break. And there's some pretty interesting stats here that reveal maybe another area where the Diamondbacks can improve. So stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play the game with FanDuel, the official sports betting app partner of the NBA. Now, another article came out from my dearest friend who might know that I exist, but probably doesn't. I need to figure out a way to reach out to reach him. Alex D'Agostino, who I'm probably saying his name wrong, but Alex has another really great article talking about the Diamondbacks offense and kind of where they are strong and where they maybe aren't so strong. And so here's the article. One major question facing D-backs offense. It's D-backs offense, not D-backs' offense. My dad taught me very well. Anyway, he talks about kind of where we were at, but also asks the question, are we top heavy? So what does that mean exactly? Well, the Diamondbacks have their kind of main hitters. Now, he also points out in this article, he's like, well, you may be quick to be like, well, Suarez, Naylor, blah, blah, blah. Since the trade deadline, we've had an OPS of 754, which is very good, very high up there. And then he analyzes our 1 through 4 hitters versus our 5 through 9 hitters. So our 1 through 4 hitters, generally Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo, and Gabriel Moreno. Those 4 kind of act as our main hitting core. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. is a 5th on there, except he's going to be out until the heat death of the universe, or at least sometime middle of next year. So for now, we have our 4 core hitters. And our first 4 since the trade deadline hit a 288 average. It's pretty good. But had an on-base percentage of 377, which is nearly a whole 100 points higher, which is a huge jump, and then a 495 slugging, which is nearly 500. It's very good. And then between the first 4 hitters, they had 38 home runs, 46 doubles, 137 RBIs, and then here's the big one. They walked 111 times and only struck out 163 times. Those numbers are never that close. There's usually a pretty big gap between the number of walks, which is much lower, the number of strikeouts, which is much higher. So those numbers look very good. The problem is that our 5 through 9 hitters, their average was a 232, so over 50 points lower. And their on-base percentage was 283, which is nearly a whole point lower than the first 4 hitters. So the first 4 hitters were 377 getting on base. So over a third of the time they were making it on base. Carroll, Marte, Perdomo, Moreno. The other 5 hitters made it just a little over a quarter of the time. And the reason for that is because the first 4 knew how to draw walks. And that shows too, because the first 4 players had 111 walks. The next 5 hitters, which that's one more than 4, it should be higher than 111, was only 57 walks. And where the first four had 163 strikeouts. The second had 292 strikeouts, nearly 300. That's almost twice as much. So that is way, way more. And thinking back on it, you're like, oh yeah, I do remember. Yeah, they were striking out a lot. And but the main core, their ability to draw walks was incredible. And when they weren't drawing walks, they were getting hits. Like they got on base all the time. And they had the power. They had, as in power swings, they were hitting doubles and home runs and everything like that. So they were doing very well. Now, our 5 through 9 hitters, I kind of have a list here of who they were and who they are going to be in this upcoming season. But we had Pavin Smith we would have Pavin Smith at first, or DH with Tyler Locklear, Blaze Alexander, Jordan Lawlar over at third, Tim Tawa, Jake McCarthy in left, Alec Thomas or Jorge Barosa in center, Del Castillo or McCann would be either the DH or the catcher. And then another one, if Marte was the DH, then Ildemaro Vargas would be at second. And so those guys kind of made up our 5 through 9 hitters, and often were kind of platooned and things like that. Now, McCann and Vargas aren't guaranteed to be back. McCann is a free agent, so we need to re-sign him. I don't know what the situation exactly is with Vargas. I know we signed him to like a minor league deal and then call him up, but I think it's just a one at a time, like a 1-year deal every time. So I don't know, but that's what we're looking at there. Now let's look at our core again. If Marte, and especially Moreno tends to be out injured quite often, which as a catcher makes a little bit more sense. Every pitch is a opportunity for a catcher to get injured, whereas a second baseman is a few times a game, But Marte has struggled with staying healthy the entire season. If Marte and Moreno are both able to stay healthy throughout the entire season, then that's going to be a massive boost, because Moreno didn't really like this last season. Carroll, Marte, and Perdomo kind of made up our big 3 hitters that ended up on the team after the trade deadline. Moreno, not quite so much because he was out for so long. But if you look at his numbers when he was here, they were great. I mean, he was awesome. And so if he was able to be here all season, then that would be a huge, huge step up for the Diamondbacks. Another one I want to bring up once again is Jordan Lawlar, because his average, I mean, if you look at his average, it's like in the 100s. It's not good, obviously, because he went 0 for 36. But once he did get going, his last month of the season, he hit 308 batting average. He had a 364 on base percentage, which for a 308 batting average isn't super great. He wasn't amazing at drawing walks. His pitch selection still working on that, and his slugging was 487. He hasn't hit a home run yet, but he does get a lot of doubles. So that is good to see. But if he's able, and I'm not expecting him to be a 300 hitter for the whole of 2026, but if he can be a 250 hitter and consistently, get on base and maybe knock in a few home runs. It doesn't have to be many. I'm not expecting a big power hitter from Jordan Lawlar, but if something like what Perdomo was last year, the year before, then that'd be a huge upgrade. And then he's helping that bottom half of the lineup, lifting that up. If him and then we have also Pavin Smith. I mean, he hit 258 with an on-base percentage of 362. That's a good. I mean, his and Lawlar's on-base percentage were the same virtually, whereas Pavin's average was about 50 points lower. But he, for the short amount of time that he was in the season, he looked better than he had looked ever, in my opinion. And he was pretty consistent when he was in too. It felt like we could pretty easily rely on him to get on base and get hits. He had 8 home runs and 244 at bats. So not too bad. So if he's able to stay healthy as well, I'm not expecting an all-star performance from Pavin Smith, but just a consistent ability to get on base and give the next guy a shot, then that's another huge one. Tyler Locklear, the other thing, a lot of people like to hate on Tyler Locklear because he did not put up very good numbers. He's only 24 years old, which is weird for me to be like, it's starting to get weird. Like if maybe a lot of you guys listening can relate. It was weird to be at the point where I'm like, whoa, Major League Baseball players are the same age as I am. Professional athletes are the same age as me. I'm the same age as them. And then I'm like, whoa, I'm the same age as some of these guys who have been in the majors for a while now. Interesting. And now I'm looking at players. If they're my age, I'm like, oof, you're kind of getting old there, buddy. I don't know if any of you guys can relate, but if you can, let me know in the comments. Tomorrow, I'm going to do another hearing from you segment as well. So please leave in the comments your thoughts, and I will read them on the podcast, and we can talk about your thoughts, not my thoughts, your thoughts. Well, your thoughts and my thoughts, I guess. So, but not exclusively my thoughts for once. But Locklear, yeah, he's only 24 years old. He played 16 games in 2024 and 31 games in 2025. That's it. Like in the majors, that's it. He's still kind of brand new. I mean, that's less than Lawlar, I believe. I'd have to double check that. But if not, it's about similar. And actually his average is about the same as Lawlar's. I wouldn't expect Locklear to, I mean, he's not a number one draft pick or anything like that. He's not a top prospect by any means, but I think he has a lot that he can prove, and I think he has a lot that he can work with. So hopefully he recovers quickly. He may be on the opening day roster. The way people are talking about it makes me think he might not be, but I do think he could be a fairly good, have a good spot in our lineup. But with all that there, a really good lineup, I think, if we had Perdomo, Carroll, Marte, and Moreno, our core four, and they are all firing on all cylinders, they're at least matching what they were this last season, and they're healthy. I mean, those first four, amazing. That's giving us a really good head start. Then if we had like a DH like Pavin Smith, somebody who's able to come in and get on base, keep the ball rolling, keep things going, that's great. Center field, we have Jordan Lawlar, who is able to put the bat on the ball as well and get on base, match Pavin Smith there. Then I think that'd be good. Blaze Alexander. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Lawlar outpaces Alexander this upcoming season in offense. But if Alexander is able to do just a little bit of improvement off of this last season, then that would be huge. And then Tyler Locklear to kind of wrap everything up and have a chance in the 9-hole spot. Honestly, I think that would be a really killer lineup. It's not like super flashy and fancy, but I think that would do the trick. I think that would keep our my notes, that there was a page break. And then in left field we have like Tim Tawa. I think would be a good one too. He did really well this season for his first season in the majors, and I think he's got a lot of upward momentum, and I think I think he'd be good. He'd probably be better in the 9-hole spot actually anyway, because to have somebody in the 9 spot who can get on base and then set up the top of the order, I think is really powerful thing. So to have Tawa there would actually be really nice. And then I as the off season goes on, I'm really holding out for a Goldschmidt return. I think that would be huge. I think that would be great for the team. I think he would be good for the team as far as what he's able to do. He's older. He's not going to be all-star caliber Paul Goldschmidt, but I think he would I think he would be better than Tyler Locklear, to be honest. And I think it would be good to have him and Locklear together and kind of have Locklear take the reins after Goldschmidt does leave or retire or whatever. And I think that would be a big move to make, and it wouldn't be too terribly expensive. And what a way to excite the fan base. I mean, That'd be huge. That'd be massive. So the more I think about that, the more I'm like, that has to happen, right? Like that has to happen. I'll be very upset if it doesn't happen, unless they end up signing some crazy big name, and I'm like, oh well, okay, never mind. But I don't think they're going to sign Alex Bregman or or anybody like that. So anyway, you guys, we're going to talk about all of our 2025 call-ups that came up in this last season and how they performed, and we're also going to talk about who we expect to see in 2026. So stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this short break. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. You haven't tried it yet? Prize Picks is the simplest way to win. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates. That includes California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. In the year 2025, we had a good number of people come up, particularly pitchers, mostly because of injuries. We had a lot, actually. I don't know. I'm curious actually to see what the average or the standard number is. But we had 7 pitchers that we called up from the minors to pitch in a Major League Baseball game. And only one of those, I believe, had any outings in 2024. Some of these guys we did see a little bit of beforehand. I did fudge it a little bit, but these guys I would consider minor league players who got called up to the majors. They may have been called up to the majors before once or twice, but principally minor league players called up to the majors. So in 2025, let's start with our non-pitchers. Jorge Barrosa had 71 at-bats this season. He didn't he didn't blow anybody away, but he had a lot of big opportunities. He helped in a lot. I mean, he played in a lot of high leverage, high stakes games. And I think that is big for, desensitizing the nerves and things like that. Because the whole time he was in, we were trying to get that final wild card spot. So it's not like he was in a blowout season and we were just like, just go for it, whatever. If you strike out, who cares? No, we all cared. And he didn't excel, unfortunately, but defensively he did very good or very well. Sorry, Dad. And offensively he shows promise, but definitely still a work in progress there. So he had 71 at bats. He did have 17 at bats in 2024. Like I said, I'm cheating a little bit, but this year he definitely had a lot more exposure to the majors than he did in 2024. The next one I'm going to bring up, once again, this is the Jordan Lawlar episode. Jordan Lawlar this season had 66 at bats. And between 2023 and 2024, so he actually had 2 seasons prior to this, he had 31 at bats between the 2 seasons. Both in 2023 and 2024, he was called up, I think, in October to have some reps in both before the playoffs and leading up to the playoffs. So with the expanded roster, he was called up. Had a few hacks, but nothing really came of it. And even this last year, 36 at bats and didn't get a single hit until finally he kind of broke through, and we're seeing what he's able to do. Another one who got called up this season, didn't get as much playing time, Connor Kaiser. He only had 18 at bats. I feel like I saw a lot more of him than that, but maybe that's just because we saw him defensively in the infield, and I don't know. But he only had 18 at bats. He's still minor league caliber guy, and I'm excited to see what he can do. We'll probably see him again this upcoming season. not in the starting roster or anything like that, but we'll probably see him throughout the year. He did have 4 at-bats, not in 2024, but in 2023. He had 4 major league at-bats in Colorado, of all places. So, and then finally, our biggest 2025 call-up outside of pitching was Tim Tawa. So he had 199 at-bats this season. He did not play in any other season. He's our one true 2025 call-up outside of pitching. And Tim Tawa impressed me. I really enjoyed watching him play. I think he did a fantastic job for the position he's in. I say all that. He doesn't feel like the kind of player that's going to blow the lid off of any place, but he looks like he's good defensively. He's a utility guy. And if he's able to, if he had 6 home runs, I believe it was 6 home runs in those nearly 200 at bats. So if he's able to kind of ramp that up just a little bit, and he's able to keep his average, increases his batting average just a little bit, then I think he'll be a fantastic middle of the lineup player. And here in Arizona, that's extremely valuable. And that's also something a lot of people said about Perdomo over the last handful of years. And he had an amazing season this year. So Tim Tawa may be a future All-Star. We'll see. I don't know. That would be awesome. I don't expect it, but I love being surprised in a good way. I don't like being surprised in a bad way. Bad. Now let's look at pitchers. The only one who had any experience before this was Yilber Diaz. He pitched 1 game in 2025. He did start 4 games and came in relief in 3 games in 2024. So he had 7 games in 2024, 1 game in 2025. So not a ton there, but other ones, Austin Pope played 1 game in the majors. We had Philip Abner pitch 5 games in the majors this year. Both of those guys, I expect, not on the starting day roster. Hopefully we have a little bit more experience that we acquire and sign between now and then. But I do expect to see them, when inevitably all of our pitchers get injured. We had Brandon Garcia, who we traded for. He had 14 games in the majors this season. Andrew Hoffman, also a trade acquisition for he pitched 11 games. Taylor Rashi pitched 10 games in this season. Taylor Rashi, Andrew Hoffman, Brandon Garcia, they all had good outings. Philip Abner and Austin Pope as well. Very small sample size, but everybody showed a lot of promise, and again, kind of got, hopefully, that major league heebie-jeebies out, and they'll be able to go play in spring training, and they'll have a chance in 2026, I'm certain, to come and play again. Another one was Kyle Backus. He had the most out of this group. He had 32 games. Kyle Backus shows promise as well. And I think if everybody had played 32 games, I think they'd probably put up numbers very similar to Backus. But that was our 2025. We had 7 pitchers called up and 4 non-pitchers called up in 2025. Now in 2026, I'm certain this isn't going to be completely accurate, but I have 3 pitchers on here that I'm like, yeah, these guys could make it in. I'm sure there's some guys who ended the season in AA that will have a great season and jump up to AAA early in the season, and then they'll have a shot towards the end of the season in 2026. But for whoever, I pretty much pulled from the AAA roster, these guys. Let's start with pitching. We have my best friend, Kyle Ament, who is a relief pitcher, and he was injured during most of 2025, but in 29 2/3 innings, he put up a 3.03 ERA, which is very good, and has been looking very good in the Arizona Fall League as well. So Ament, I don't think he's gonna. He'd be a middle of the season to late season call up. I mean, hopefully we have a lot of depth in in the bullpen, and nobody gets injured, and Justin Martinez and AJ Puck come back, and Kevin Ginkel's back, and all these guys, and we're like, hey, we're killing it, and Ament is not needed. That would be a good sign. But being my best friend, obviously, I hope the best for him and I hope he makes it. So, but he would have to put up really good numbers in 2026, which I expect. A starting pitcher, somebody who we acquired, is Cole Drake. I don't. He's another one that I think it'll take a little while. He's been in the talks of like, ooh, maybe he gets called up for the starting lineup. The starting rotation. I don't think he's quite there yet. He pitched most of the season in Double A and then a good amount in Triple A. He had 89. He's a starting pitcher, 89 and 1/3 innings, and he had a 4.23 ERA, which is I'd say above average for a starting pitcher in AAA, and it's about average maybe. Either way, for somebody who's just gotten up to that level, it's pretty good. So Cole Drake will make it to the majors in some capacity. It might be as a relief pitcher, but he will make it, and I believe it'll be in 2026 that he makes it. But we'll see how he does, and if he kills it in AAA, then great. If he struggles in AAA, then yeah, maybe it'll be another year. And then another one who is both a starting and relief pitcher, pretty sprinkled throughout. I was wondering if he like started as one and ended as the other, but no, it's pretty evenly distributed. Is Logan Mercado, who in 53 innings pitched has a 3.74 ERA. So definitely not bad either. I think when push comes to shove, hopefully, but it will happen. We're going to have injuries and we're going to need to call up on people. And I think Amet and Mercado and even Cole Drake, I could see them all getting the call to saying, hey, we need you in the bullpen because we're running thin. We're running thin. Maybe I'm just trained to expect that. And hopefully that's not normal and it doesn't happen next year, but I could very well see that happening. Everybody outside of the pitching staff or out of the non-pitchers, we have, in no particular order, we have Ivan Melendez, who's a first baseman and in AAA put up a batting average of 292. Anything close to 300 is a very good sign for me. His on-base percentage is 347, so nearly 350. And he had 89 at-bats in AAA. He also was both in AA and AAA. Tommy Troy is at shortstop. And you probably heard about Tommy Troy before. He's one of our top prospects. He put up a 295, so very nearly 300 with a 381 on-base percentage. So he reaches base a good deal more than Melendez does, even though they have a very similar batting average. And he did that in 156 at-bats at AAA. Also not completely in AAA. Andy Weber at second base posted a 310 batting average with a 368 on base percentage. So he doesn't reach on walks nearly quite as often as Troy does, but his batting average is a good deal higher. And that is in 364 at-bats in AAA. Most of, if not all of his season was in AAA. Tristan English technically did make an appearance in the majors last year, but it was so short I didn't feel like counting it. He had 22 at-bats in the majors. So good, but he didn't really, and he also didn't, he wasn't ready. But in the minors in AAA, in 385 at-bats, he posted a 325 batting average. So he's getting a hit almost a third of the time. And that screams to me he's going to be in the majors soon, very, very soon. Had a shot in the majors, wasn't quite ready for it. I think he's kind of similar to where Lawlar was at the beginning of last year. So I think he'll need to come up again. He'll need to walk across the coals and take his 36 strikeouts or whatever before he gets his first hit. But once he kind of gets his first hit of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts putting up those good numbers. His on-base percentage, however, is also 368, which is the same as Andy Weber and lower than Tommy Troy, who both have a lower batting average than he does. So he also doesn't walk very often. But his slugging is 514, so he has a lot more of a power hitter than any of the others. Let's see. Now, as I mentioned, Melendez is first baseman. Tommy Troy is a shortstop. Andy Weber's a second baseman. I can see Melendez getting called up if Locklear's not ready, and if for whatever horrible reason we don't sign Goldschmidt or any first baseman, I could see him being called up as a backup first baseman, maybe before the others, because Troy and Weber middle infield, though either one of them could, in theory, take on an outfield position. Or hopefully, if we don't want this to happen, but if somebody in the middle infield gets injured, I could see maybe one of them getting called up as well. And then Tristan English is an outfielder. We also have Christian Robinson, who's a left fielder. He put up a 262 batting average, which is quite a bit lower than everybody else's, but he has the highest on base percentage of the bunch at 393, which, yeah, nearly 40% of the time he's getting on base. So very impressive in 145 at bats. And then finally, we have in the outfield AJ Vukovic, who I mentioned before. He put up a 284 batting average in 426 at bats. He did go a full season in AAA, and he had an on-base percentage of 355. So none of these guys, I think the closest one to really like showing like they're 100% ready is Tristan English. And so I think he's probably our next guy, especially being an outfielder. That's pretty big. And if we do end up trading McCarthy and Thomas away, I think he'll take on that kind of role, and him and Lawlar will kind of be the two young guys out there in outfield instead of Thomas and McCarthy as the two young guys out there in outfield. But I think we'll likely see all of these guys at one point or another to varying degrees of success, as well as most, if not all, of the guys from 2025, assuming they're on the roster for the minors. So we got a lot of guys. We got a lot of depth. The question is, not the question, but the thing is we want to avoid going to all of them like we did this season by staying healthy and adding to our roster this offseason. So we'll see how that actually ends up working out. But that is the show today. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow on X and Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Diamondbacks. We're on YouTube as well as every other place you get your podcasts. If you want to see more of me, you can find more of my YouTube channels and projects at my website, slackshack.tv. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every single day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Blue Jays won yesterday. Elimination game tomorrow. Yes, let's do this. Get a local analysis on a national scale. Sorry, I'm impartial. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.